The trio of leather-jacketed thugs had transformed the tranquil eatery into a scene of dread. Patrons anxiously shifted meals on their dishes, while the young server kept eyeing the door. Everyone feared them, everyone, except the striking lady in the wheelchair by the glass pane. Her bold composure was a challenge they couldn't ignore. They viewed her as defenseless, an easy target. They were unaware they'd soon confront the wrath of the United States Army's finest fighters. Emily Harper, 34 years old, rested calmly by the wide window of Johnson's family diner. Her long golden hair cascaded in gentle curls over her shoulders, and her sharp blue eyes carried a peace that seemed unbreakable. She wore a plain white snug t-shirt and dark navy jeans. Her strong physique remained clear, despite the wheelchair, her steady partner for the last 4 years. The shiny chrome of her custom wheelchair glowed under the cozy lights, but it was the small rectangular badge on its side that revealed her true tale. The Elite Forces patch, with its unique airborne emblem and the phrase De Oppresso Liber, marked her as one of the rare, the exceptional. The green berets of the United States Army. The diner was her haven, a piece of ordinary life she'd battled to defend. But today, that calm was about to break. For more inspiring videos about our military champions, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Your support enables us to keep sharing these vital stories. Emily Harper, 34 years old, sat quietly by the wide window of Johnson's family diner, observing the afternoon traffic glide by on Interstate 40. Her long golden hair fell in soft curls over her shoulders, and her sharp blue eyes held a peace that seemed unshakable. She wore a plain, white, snug t-shirt and dark navy jeans, her strong physique still evident despite the wheelchair, her constant companion for the past 4 years. The chrome and leather of her custom wheelchair shone under the diner's warm lights, but it was the small rectangular badge fixed to its side that told her true tale. The Elite Forces patch, with its unique airborne emblem and the words "to free the oppressed," marked her as one of the rare, the exceptional. The Green Berets of the United States Army. Emily had picked this specific booth for a purpose. It gave clear views to all exits, placed her back against a firm wall, and allowed swift access to both the kitchen door and the main entrance. Old instincts lingered, especially those that had kept her alive in the planet's most perilous regions. The diner was her refuge, a fragment of normal American life she'd fought to shield in countless nations. Here she could sip coffee, enjoy pie, read a novel, and act for a few hours like an ordinary patron, not a decorated hero with more covert operations on her record than most had job interviews. But today, her calm was about to shatter. At 2:47 p.m., the roar of Harley-Davidson motors signaled trouble's arrival. 3 members of the Hells Riders motorcycle gang sped into the diner's lot, their bikes dark as night and loud as storms. They shut off their engines with dramatic flair, dismounting with the confidence of men who thought the world owed them everything. The leader, a giant named Bulldozer, stood 6'4" and over 250 pounds, with arms like oak branches covered in jailhouse ink. His vest displayed the club's emblem, a skull in a biker helmet surrounded by flames. Beside him was Fang, lean and jittery, with the restless energy of someone always wired, and Razor, whose scarred fists hinted at too many brawls and too few victories against worthy foes. The diner's mood shifted instantly. Talk stopped mid-sentence. Forks froze mid-air. An elderly couple in a corner booth suddenly studied their peach cobbler intently, while a family with small kids quietly requested their bill. But Emily didn't stir, didn't blink, didn't even glance up from her novel. That, to Bulldozer, was her first error. The 3 gang members strutted through the diner's front door, their heavy boots resounding on the checkered linoleum floor. They claimed the central booth with the arrogance of those used to intimidating good folks, their loud voices slicing through the calm like jagged blades. "This joint reeks of old folks and defeat," Fang declared, his voice carrying the nasal tone of someone whose nose had been ruined by years of substance abuse. Razor chuckled, a sound like scraping steel. "Yeah, but check out the view." His eyes locked on Emily, noting her golden hair, her fitted shirt, the way she sat with such peculiar stillness. "Look at the wheels on that one." Bulldozer followed his gaze, his face darkening when he saw Emily ignoring them. In his world, people noticed him. People feared him. People showed respect, willingly or not. "Hey, darling!" he bellowed across the diner. "You deaf or just dumb?" Emily turned a page in her novel without looking up. Sun Tzu's The Art of War, fitting for what was about to unfold. The slight enraged Bulldozer. He rose, his chair scraping the floor, and approached Emily's table. Up close, he noticed details he'd missed from afar. The military precision in her posture, the deliberate placement of her hands, the fact that her stillness was readiness, not relaxation. But he focused on the wheelchair and the small military badge on its side. "Well, well," he sneered, his voice thick with mock pity. "Look what we have here, boys. A little army gal playing dress-up." Fang and Razor joined him, forming a semicircle around Emily's table. Other patrons watched nervously, too scared to act, but unable to look away. "That's a cute badge, sweetheart," Bulldozer went on, pointing at the Elite Forces patch. "Where'd you get it? Army surplus shop or a cereal box?" Emily finally looked up, her blue eyes meeting Bulldozer's with utter calm. "I earned it," she said plainly. The trio burst into harsh, mocking laughter that echoed in the quiet diner. Razor wheezed, wiping tears. "Sure, they're letting crippled gals into the Elite Forces now. That's rich. What's next?" Fang added. "Blind snipers? Deaf codebreakers?" Their laughter grew crueler. Patrons shifted uncomfortably, shame on their faces as they watched three men mock a disabled woman and did nothing. But in a far corner, a young man in casual clothes watched with rising anger. Sergeant First Class Ethan Brooks, home on leave from Fort Bragg, served with the 82nd Airborne Division. He recognized the Elite Forces patch instantly and knew what it meant. More importantly, he knew the kind of person who earned it. Emily closed her novel gently, placing it on the table with care. "Gentlemen," she said, her voice carrying a quiet authority that sent a chill down Bulldozer's spine. "I suggest you return to your booth." Bulldozer's face reddened. "Did she just order me?" Without warning, he grabbed the handles of Emily's wheelchair, tilting it back until she gripped the armrests to stay balanced. "Let me tell you something, Army gal. This is my town, my diner, my rules. And my rules say you show respect to your superiors." The diner gasped collectively. An elderly veteran at the counter started to stand, but his wife pulled him back, fearing the worst. The young server hid behind the register, tears streaming. Emily's voice stayed calm. "Sir, I'm asking you once to release my chair." Bulldozer's grip tightened. "Or what? You'll roll over my toes." That's when he made his fatal mistake. With a rough shove, he pushed the wheelchair back, crashing it into the wall, rattling framed photos. Emily's coffee mug fell, spilling hot liquid across the table and onto her lap. The impact dislodged a small magnetic case under the wheelchair's seat, spilling its contents across the floor. Military ribbons scattered like confetti, bronze stars, purple hearts, silver stars, and others most civilians wouldn't know, but they told a story of immense bravery. Among them was something that made everyone gasp. A folded American flag, the kind given at military funerals. But this one was unique. It bore signatures from generals, Congress members, and the Secretary of Defense, with gold lettering in one corner. To Captain Emily Harper, Green Beret, for extraordinary heroism against impossible odds. The silence was deafening. Ethan Brooks, the young paratrooper, had seen enough. He knew a military family somewhere would move mountains to protect one of their own. He slipped outside, pulling out his phone. Directory assistance connected him to Fort Bragg, then to a number reserved for emergencies. The direct line to the commanding officer of the 5th Special Forces Group. "Colonel Andrews!" came the sharp voice. "Sir, this is Sergeant Brooks, 82nd Airborne. I'm at Johnson's family diner on Route 40, about 30 miles east of Albuquerque. There's a situation involving one of your people." A pause. "Explain." "Sir, a Green Beret is being harassed by gang members. She's in a wheelchair, sir. They're mocking her service. The silence stretched so long, Brooks thought the call dropped. When the colonel spoke, his voice was icy. Brooks, you said Green Beret? Yes, sir. Elite Forces patch, ribbons on the floor. And a signed flag, sir, with some big names. Another pause. Name on the flag, Sergeant? Brooks peered through the window. Harper, sir. Captain Emily Harper. A sharp breath came through the phone. Brooks, listen carefully. Don't let anyone leave that diner. Don't let them touch Captain Harper again. We're en route. Sir, how many? All of us, Sergeant. All of us. Inside, the situation worsened. Bulldozer, emboldened by the lack of resistance, grabbed Emily's wheelchair again, shaking it like a toy. Look at this, he mocked, pointing at the scattered ribbons. Our little army gal likes to play pretend. What's next? Claiming you won the Medal of Honor? Emily's hands gripped the armrests, knuckles white, but her voice remained steady. Those ribbons honor soldiers who trusted me to lead them home. You're disrespecting their sacrifice. Their sacrifice? Razor laughed. Lady, the only thing you ever killed was time. None of them noticed the diner's atmosphere shift. It started subtly, a dimming of light as vehicles pulled into the lot. One SUV, then two, then more. Black government vehicles with tinted windows, radiating authority. Fang noticed first, glancing nervously outside. Bulldozer, we've got company. Bulldozer, caught up in his dominance, brushed it off. So what? Probably tourists. But when he looked, his face paled. 8 black Chevy Suburbans encircled the diner, their occupants barely visible. These weren't tourist vehicles. These were the kind used by people who meant business. The doors opened with precision, and 32 men in civilian clothes stepped out, jeans, boots, polo shirts. But their bearing screamed elite soldiers. Green Berets from the 5th Special Forces Group, moving with the silent coordination of men who'd raided the world's deadliest places. Patrons pressed against the windows, watching in awe as the small army assembled outside. Ethan Brooks, still on the phone, caught the lead officer's eye and pointed to Emily's table. Inside, Bulldozer's bravado faded like mist. "What the hell?" he muttered, seeing the soldiers form a perimeter. The door opened, and Colonel Andrews entered, a man in his late 40s, silver in his dark hair with a presence that demanded attention. Behind him came his command team, followed by more Green Berets than the diner could hold. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They surrounded Emily's table, a wall of muscle and precision that made the gang members look like kids and over their heads. Colonel Andrews surveyed the scene, the scattered ribbons, the spilled coffee, the 3 pale thugs who'd tormented one of his own. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with cold fury. He looked at Emily, his demeanor softening. "Captain Harper," he said, his voice full of respect. "Are you injured?" Emily straightened, instinctively at attention despite her seat. "No, sir, just some spilled coffee." The colonel's gaze fell on the ribbons, noting the bronze stars, purple hearts, and rare silver star. "I see your service record is on display." "Yes, sir, unintentionally." Colonel Andrews knelt, gathering the ribbons with reverence. He spoke, his voice reaching every corner of the silent diner. "Ladies and gentlemen, you're in the presence of one of our nation's greatest heroes. Captain Emily Harper served 4 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq with the Special Forces. She led missions behind enemy lines, rescued captured soldiers, and saved countless lives." He stood, holding the ribbons like treasures. 4 years ago, Captain Harper led a mission to extract a captured Navy pilot from a Taliban stronghold. Her team reached the pilot, but during extraction they were surrounded, outnumbered 50-1, with no hope of backup. The diner was so quiet, you could hear the air conditioning hum. Bulldozer, Fang, and Razor stood frozen, trapped by the Green Berets around them. Captain Harper could have escaped with most of her team, the colonel continued. Instead, she stayed behind to hold off the enemy while her soldiers and the pilot got to safety. She fought alone for 6 hours against impossible odds. Emily closed her eyes, the memory still raw. Gunfire, sand, blood, the weight of a choice that cost her everything but saved others. "When we reached her," Colonel Andrews said, his voice heavy with emotion, We found Captain Harper unconscious, buried under rubble from a mortar round. She'd lost both legs below the knee, but was still clutching her weapon, facing the enemy. A woman at the counter began to cry. The elderly veteran who'd tried to act earlier stood at attention, tears on his cheeks. "That Navy pilot she saved," the colonel said, "has 3 kids now. Every soldier who survived that day went home to their families because of Captain Harper's sacrifice." He turned to the gang members, his expression like steel. "So when you chose to mock her wheelchair, to disrespect her service, to treat her like nothing, you weren't just insulting a disabled woman. You were insulting one of America's finest warriors." Bulldozer tried to speak, his voice breaking. "We didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't care to know." Colonel Andrews cut in coldly. "You saw someone you thought was weak and chose cruelty." The lead Green Beret stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of command. "I'm Colonel Andrews, commander of the 5th Special Forces Group. Captain Harper served under me for 8 years. She's the finest soldier I've ever led and family to every man here." He gestured to the 30-plus Green Berets filling the diner. "These men have fought beside her, bled with her, and would follow her into hell without hesitation. When we heard 3 cowards were disrespecting her in a public restaurant, we decided to drop by." Bulldozer looked around, taking in the faces of the elite soldiers. These weren't amateurs. They were warriors who'd seen combat worldwide, men who could end a fight before it began. "Look, we didn't mean it," he stammered. "We were just messing around." "Messing around?" Another Green Beret said, his voice low and deadly. "You think a veteran sacrifice is a joke?" Emily spoke, her voice cutting through the tension. "Colonel, it's okay. They didn't know." But Colonel Andrews shook his head. "Ma'am, ignorance isn't an excuse for disrespect. They need to understand." He faced the gang members, his tone like a briefing. "Captain Harper didn't just lose her legs in that ambush. She lost her fiancé, Staff Sergeant Daniel Lee, who died covering her escape. She lost her future, her career, everything she'd worked for. But she gained the gratitude of those she saved and the unbreakable bond of the Special Forces Brotherhood." His voice hardened. "She could have taken a desk job, lived off her pension. Instead, she works part-time at the VA hospital, counseling wounded veterans, giving them hope." Emily's cheeks flushed. She'd never wanted her story shared like this. But the colonel continued. "When you mocked her wheelchair, her badge, you weren't just bullying a disabled woman. You were attacking what makes this country worth defending." The diner was silent. Even the kitchen staff stopped listening. Bulldozer, now pale, looked at Emily with remorse. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I didn't know. If you had known, would you have acted differently?" Emily asked calmly. "Why does it take my service record for you to treat me with dignity?" The question hung heavy. Bulldozer had no answer. Colonel Andrews stepped closer. "Here's what's happening. You'll apologize to Captain Harper properly. You'll pay for every meal in this diner today. Then you'll leave and never return." "And if we don't?" Fang asked, trying to muster bravado. The colonel smiled coldly. "Then you'll learn why Special Forces are called the quiet professionals. We don't threaten, we deliver." The words, though soft, carried immense weight. These were men who toppled regimes and eliminated threats. They stood united for one of their own. Bulldozer broke first, pulling out his wallet with trembling hands, placing every bill on Emily's table. "Ma'am, Captain, I'm sorry. Truly sorry. We were wrong." Fang and Razor followed, emptying their wallets, their apologies genuine in their fear. But Emily wasn't done. She wheeled closer, meeting their eyes. "Understand this. This wheelchair isn't weakness. It's sacrifice. Every veteran, whether in a chair, with a cane, or with unseen wounds, has given something for your freedom to sit here and eat in peace." Her voice grew firm, commanding respect as it had in the world's toughest places. "Next time you see someone who looks different, moves differently, seems an easy target, remember this. You don't know their battles or their costs." Fang, tears streaming, nodded. "Yes, ma'am. We'll remember." Colonel Andrews watched with pride. Even in a wheelchair, Emily commanded the situation with legendary leadership. The gang members grabbed their jackets and headed out, their swagger replaced by shame. At the door, Bulldozer turned. "Captain, thank you for your service, and I'm sorry for what you lost." Emily nodded, accepting the apology with grace born of carrying loss without bitterness. The diner erupted in applause. Patrons who'd stayed silent now stood, cheering for the woman they'd seen humiliated moments before. The elderly veteran approached, eyes wet. "Ma'am, I served in Vietnam 2 tours. Your courage is the kind they write books about." Emily smiled genuinely. "We all serve, sir. Your service matters as much as mine." The diner's owner, a warm woman in her 60s, hurried over, tears in her eyes. "Captain, your meals are free here forever. It's the least I can do." The most poignant moment came when Ethan Brooks approached, standing at attention and saluting crisply. "Captain Harper, Sergeant Brooks, 82nd Airborne. It's an honor, ma'am. Your reputation precedes you, even among us regular Army folks." Emily returned the salute from her wheelchair, the gesture heavy with shared service. "At ease, Sergeant. Thank you for the call." Colonel Andrews and his team began to leave, their mission complete. Before going, the colonel placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. "Captain, you don't need to hide who you are. The world needs to see heroes come in all forms." Emily looked at the faces filled with respect, the young soldier, the elderly veteran. "Maybe you're right, sir. Maybe it's time to stop hiding." As the special forces left, the diner returned to normal, but everything had changed. Emily was no longer just a patron. She was a hero, a warrior who'd given everything for her country and asked for nothing. The young server approached shyly, refilling Emily's coffee with trembling hands. "Ma'am, you're the bravest person I've met," Emily smiled. "Bravery isn't about fearlessness. It's doing what's right despite fear. Remember that." As the afternoon passed, word spread through the town. By evening, veterans, families, and young people came to Johnson's diner to shake Emily's hand, thank her, or hear her story. She'd come seeking anonymity, a place to blend in. But extraordinary people can't always hide. Their light shines too brightly to be dimmed by circumstance, injury, or cruelty. Sometimes the world needs reminding that heroes live among us, moving through life with quiet dignity, carrying the weight of service with grace, and showing what true courage means. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Have you seen someone bullied and wished you'd spoken up? Have you been underestimated because you seemed different or vulnerable? Share your story below. Your experience could inspire others. If this story touched you, if it showed that heroes come in all forms, hit subscribe. Everyone deserves their story told, and everyone deserves to be seen for who they truly are, not just what they seem.